Let's take a look at the whole route on Google Earth. Essentially, right, we're flying around Black Peak, which is a large stratovolcano on the peninsula. We start in Chignik Lake, head over the hills, over this peninsula, and then at this peninsula we go over the mountains and then turn left up into the hills. We go between these two mountains, and then I would guess we're going to skirt around that mountain there rather than going straight. And then we head into the valley of the Meshik River. Down the valley, into the plain, and then along the river. And then finally make our final approach to Port Hedon Airport. So let's set up our autopilot before we get going. Our first, we're going to want to go at about 1,000 feet. And let's set our vertical speed. Remember, go down to go up. And our initial heading is 48. Just so we're ready when we take off. Remember, the Cub is a tail dragger, and so we have to put the nose down very slightly in order to just a little bit of force to kick the rear wheel off the ground as we accelerate. And then once we're at takeoff speed, then we very gently lift off until the wheels are clear, and then we can pull up more aggressively. Very gentle, get our wheels off the ground, watch the shadow. There we go. And now we can pull back more aggressively. Away from the runway. A fun view. Now let's start to turn. Chignik Lagoon entrance. Depart from the airfield and head east along the Chignik River. The waterway will open up near Schooner Bay, presenting you with a view of solitary Chignik Island and the wide expanse of Chignik Bay Lagoon. Cross the lagoon to the spit of land on its northeastern side. And we're in a good place to engage the autopilot. Let's do that. Oh, it's complaining about heading, altitude select, vertical speed up to go down. We're already over 1,000 feet, so it wants to see us. Let's bring it into alignment. And we want to be flying, kind of cutting the corner here. We're probably a little, looking at the airplane, we're actually probably a little to the right of where we really should be. But the autopilot's not actually working. Better figure that out. Heading mode, course, autopilot on. We're at 2,000 feet. We've been climbing. supposed to be doing 48. We're supposed to, so looking out the window, we're supposed to be heading towards that peninsula. We can see off in the distance. So that's good. We're on track for that. So we're pretty much where we should be. Looking at the map, right, you can see we're heading out. We are supposed to be just crossing past this airport here. If we look at the map, right, we're supposed to be closer to the airport, but that's okay. And we do actually need to change our course slightly when we get to the peninsula to 43. There's the airport. So we're coming up on the peninsula, and we actually need to change our course slightly to 43 as we enter into Hook Bay. So we're going to do it a little bit early because we're actually slightly to the right of where we really should be. So let's go to the autopilot and change our heading to 43. A little bit early, and we'll see if we bisect that peninsula the way we're supposed to. So actually, our autopilot hasn't been engaged on the altitude. So actually, let's go to 2,000 feet and choose vertical select, down to go up. And we're supposed to be going to the very tip of that peninsula right here. So we're actually pretty good, but we do have to watch out. These mountains are here. The other thing we need to deal with is this RPM warning that we're getting because our prop isn't feathered enough. So on this plane, the prop control is way over here. We just need to pull that back to about 80%. And if we look back here, once we've done that, now our RPMs are at some reasonable levels. So great, we're heading out over the bay. Hook Bay. Beyond the lagoon, the waters of Chignik Bay await. Continue heading northeast along the shoreline towards a cluster of mountains up ahead. skirt your way around dominant Weasel Mountain, and once on the other side, you'll find Hook Bay. Let's take a quick look at the map. We're here and heading towards this peninsula. We're going to just go over the shoulder of this mountain and then execute a left-hand turn to 319 Mountain Coal. We're going to head along here and we'll just skirt this mountain here. Probably need to fly around it, but we'll see what happens. So now we're ready to make our turn. 319. Should put us heading right up that valley. We're flying directly at that mountain, which is what actually the route plan calls for, right? Is we're going straight up here. Mountain Coal. Adjust your heading sharply northwest and fly from Hook Bay towards a coal between two mountains in the distance. So we're flying between those two mountains, and then we're going to skirt to the right of this one. Okay, we need to execute a quick turn here. Let's head over a bit. So that's probably plenty. Meshik Creek. On the ground below, look for the bed of Blue Violet Creek and follow it further northwest through the mountain pass. And jog back to 315. So now we're above the river. Look at our flight plan. We're supposed to change to... We're supposed to head for this fork by going 315, which is pretty much what we're doing. And then switch to 327 once we get to the river. So there's the river there where we're going to change to 327. once we get past this high point, we can start to reduce our altitude to 1,000 feet. Meshik River. Ahead of you, the creek will begin to widen before ultimately leading to the Chignik River. Follow the river's flow northwest. So we're going to set our altitude to 1,000 feet. And use vertical select up to go down, just very slow. Nothing too aggressive. And we're coming up on the river where we're going to change our heading to 327. As the creek joins the river. So let's execute that turn. There we go. We're aligned with the river now. We cheat a little bit. The smart look or smart view function always goes to the next point of interest. So we haven't quite caught to it yet. Zoom in a little bit, we can see a better view of what's ahead of us. We can see the mouth of the river is almost dead ahead of us, which is actually where we want to end up. If you go back, look at the map for a second. We want to end up actually at the mouth of the river, so that's perfect. Bristol Bay. Continue tracking the Meshik River across the landscape until the waterway reaches the shore and opens up to the expanse of Port Eden. Alright, well that was fun playing with different camera angles. So let's talk about our approach. We actually still have quite a ways to go. We've got almost 9 miles after we make this turn, which we're going to make fairly soon. Right as we cross over this little peninsula here. It's that peninsula there. We're going to turn and head towards the airport. We're actually going to head more to the left out here because the runway actually runs this way, so we're going to fly out to this peninsula here and then turn. So instead of doing 354, we're probably going to do 349, 345 maybe, and we'll see what happens. So we're supposed to turn at the end of this peninsula. We're going to turn to 345. This is the Hook Peninsula that we see on the map right here. So the very base of that is where we're going to turn to make our landing. And when we look at the airport, it's got a runway, so this must be runway O. So we come in at 60 degrees to land on this runway, so just about here. Port Hedon Airport. Find your way north along the shore, and soon you will arrive at an airport beside the brilliant Bristol Bay. This is your next destination, Port Hedon Airport. So let's hand fly it from here. Little flaps, little less engine. quite sure where the airport is. I didn't think it was very far inland, but maybe I missed it. Wait, those lakes are pretty close to it. I did not think it was this far inland, though. But if I've gotten to the lakes, I've gone too far. The airport's between the lakes and the ocean. Oh, look, there it is. There's the runway. Alright, let's try that again. Not quite sure how I screwed that up, but I screwed it up. So we'll fly back out to I turned at the wrong peninsula? I'm not sure. But the one thing we want to make sure we do is give ourselves plenty of room to line up with the runway. So that's the end of the runway right there. Still got a little bit farther we want to go before we try and line up. Just watch our altitude. We don't really want to get too high, because we just got to turn around, go back down again. Alright, let's make the turn. Up the runway. More flaps. Ready to add power if we're short. Runway is at 86 feet above sea level. So remember, don't put on too much brakes. This is a tail dragger. If you put on the brakes too hard, you will end up standing it on its nose. And that's just bad. 300 feet above the runway, 200 feet above the runway. It's a nice long runway, so honestly we're just gonna, and we're gonna watch for the shadow and flare it. Okay, now let it slow down a bit before you, and pull up to keep the rear wheel on the ground. And you can start to apply brakes. Just can't apply the brakes too aggressively or the tail will pop up like you saw it do there for a second. And at the very end you have to just very gentle at the end. Not put the brakes on too hard, because the tail will pop up. And there we go. End of leg number 8. Thanks very much for joining me.